Hey everybody, what's going on? Hexlex here. I've got another Master Duel video for you. So today we're coming back to Tri-Brigade Spright for our Season 15 deck profile. This is a deck that I've actually not gotten to play quite as much as I think I would have liked to in the last season. It's just, between the MCSs and there's so many different Spright variants, when Sprights were originally going to come out, I kind of had in my head that I was like, oh, Tri-Brigade Spright is going to be the one I'm going to be on. I love Tri-Brigades, and I do. They're still, one of my favorite archetypes within Master Duel. Second, I would say only to Heroes, which is favorite archetype of all time. But anyway, yeah, I just have not gotten back around to this deck, like I said, nearly as quickly as I hoped I would, or wanted to. But we are back again to cover Tri-Brigade Spright. As I said, any excuse to cover the Tri-Brigade archetype. Now, I will say that I do still believe that among all of the Spright archetypes, this is probably currently the weakest, but we do have to put a pretty huge asterisk on currently, because really, in my opinion, what this deck is missing is another, solid Link 2 monster. I've kind of, griped about PSY-Framelord Lambda a little bit, and, to be fair, the card is not, unplayable. It's not completely terrible. I just do still wish that there was a better Link 2 monster for this deck to end on with some of its combos. Now, in the TCG, around this time, from what I understand, around the time that this deck and Sprights and all, Pote came out, we got Pit Knight Airly, which is a TCG exclusive Link 2 that has the ability to negate monster effects as a quick effect. So, I mean, to be fair, PSY-Framegear Lambda kind of does the same, but it's really only if you have Gamma in hand. So to have the ability to conditionlessly negate a monster effect on a Link 2 is definitely yeah, that's definitely something that we want more. In addition to that, we also get Sprint, sorry, in the future. That's another Link 2 that has the ability to send any level 2 from your deck to the graveyard. So once that's out, you can just send Kitt with that. It's obviously you'd still run Fraktall, but you don't even need Fraktall at that point, because you can just have a Link 2 in your extract and just straight up send Kitt from the deck to the graveyard. So this build here is definitely looking different from the last one that I showcased. I decided to test without Rescue Cat, and I was actually going to test with the Nimble Beavers. I had a lot of people suggesting that engine. It's a very good one, but I kind of wanted to see, I don't know, it's I was running out of space in the deck. This deck is very tight on space, unfortunately, and it's I didn't really want to drop the Gammas, and I also didn't really want to drop the triple tax. I think both those cards are super good in this format, and I'm kind of going out of my way to play these cards right now in just about any deck I can, just because of how good they are in this current meta. The PSY-Framegear Gamma is actually exceptionally good in Tri-Brigade, though, because of the ability to shuffle back any dead drivers or Gammas with either Ferrijit or Bearbrumm's effect. Like I said, we're playing the PSY-Framelord Lambda as well to make better use of the Gamma. And on top of that, we can always just... oh geez, I had a point there. Oh no, yeah, we can always make more easy use of this card than certain other decks, because we have Fraktall that activates in hand and graveyard without putting a monster in the field. Kerass activates in the hand. Of course, Kitt and Nervall also activate in the graveyard. So in that way, Tri-Brigades kind of naturally lend themselves to being able to play the PSY-Framegear Gamma. And also, if we were playing Rescue Cat still, when you sack that off and your opponent tries to Ash Blossom, that's another good opportunity to get the Gamma in. Like I said, I knew I had another point there, I just kind of lost it for a second, sorry about that. I don't know, in the future, I think I probably would want another level, another engine, another level 2 engine, be that Nimble Beavers or Rescue Cat. But I will say that this particular build played very well through disruptions. That's gonna be the theme of the games that we're gonna see in today's video, is that we're gonna get disrupted a lot. We're pretty much not gonna be able to play out any standard combo line because of the disruption our opponent has, but despite that, we're still able to kind of push and persevere through it. The extra deck here is the same, I believe. Yeah, I don't think there's been any changes to the extra deck. As far as changes I'd like to make, I wouldn't mind fitting in a Zeus here. This is a deck that can, I think, go into it maybe a little bit more often than pure Spright. Maybe some other rank 2s wouldn't be bad, Onibimaro Soul Sweeper is always good to have. But that would also require dropping some of the links, which I kind of consider essential. I don't know, a lot of people probably don't consider Almiraj essential, but there's still games where you will just open with Nervall or Kitt. and like not a whole lot of other plays, and Almiraj is still really good for that. Again, the Lambda, if I was to drop the PSY-Frame package, I could put in a Rescue Cat / Nimble Beaver. That would also free up this extra next slot as well. I think honestly just about everything else though is like, I would say needed. Rugal might look like it's non-essential, but having a Link 3 monster you can turbo out with a Tri-Brigade monster is still very important, I think. Same with the access code. Indeed, it's important for going into a 5300 access code there. Yeah, look at the list here. I don't think there's anything else I really wanted to cover with the build. You know, one other thing I will say is that in a perfect world, I would love to have another copy of Tri-Brigade Revolt. I kind of feel this way about like non-Spright Tri-Brigade as well. It feels really hard to justify more than one Revolt, but running more than one Revolt in Tri-Brigade feels so good. It's so nice to be able to like open with this card and not have to worry about searching it later. You get to like, you just get a lot more freedom in your plays, but like I said, the main deck space is already tight enough as it is. I'd already want to put in another, you know, engine that summons multiple level 2s, again, like Rescue Cat or Nimble Beaver, before I put in more copies of Revolt. But yeah, I think that's about everything I wanted to cover here, so let's just go ahead and break the list down card by card before I look at some gameplay. So we're running 1 PSY-Frame Driver, 2 Tri-Brigade Nervall, 3 Maxx, 2 PSY-Framegear Gamma, 3 Tri-Brigade Kerass, 3 Tri-Brigade Kitt, 3 Spright Blue, 3 Spright Jet, 1 Spright Red, 1 Spright Carrot, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 2 Tri-Brigade Fraktall, 3 Triple Tactics Talent, 2 Fire Formation Tenki, 2 Called by the Grave, 1 Crossout Designator, 2 Spright Starter, 1 Spright Smashers, 1 Infinite Impermanence, and then 1 Tri-Brigade Revolt. It's going to round out the main deck there. On the extra deck, we're playing 2 Gigatic Spright, 1 Salamangreat Almiraj, 1 PSY-Framelord Lambda, 1 IP Masquerena, 1 Ancient Warriors Oath Double Dragon Lords, 2 Tri-Brigade Ferrijit, the Barren Blossom, 1 Tri-Brigade Bearbrumm, the Rampant Rampager, 1 Spright Elf, 2 Spright Elf, 1 Nightmare Unicorn, 1 Tri-Brigade Rugal, the Silver Sheller, 1 Accesscode Talker, and then of course finally 1 Tri-Brigade Shureg, the Ominous Omen. So there is our list, and now let's take a look at some gameplay here. Okay, so for our first duel of this video, we're going to be going up against a Runic Spright deck. Which again, I kind of said this before when talking about pure sprites, but I actually don't mind this matchup too much, playing pretty much any sprite variant into Runic Sprights, going first or second. We'll get the first turn here though, although it's not going to be much of a first turn. Oh, except for the fact that we have Call by and Crossout. I just saw Maxx. I mean, you all know the feeling. Like, I don't know if this happens to anyone else, but this always happens to me for some reason. I feel like I have a blind spot to Call by sometimes in my hand where my opponent will, like, fire off a Maxx, or maybe I just see Maxx and I'm filled with so much immediate despair that the hopelessness takes over, and for a fleeting moment I forget, oh yeah, I have the out to that, so. In any case, I'm just going to Call by the Maxx here. Special summon Spright Blue. Opponent's going to throw out an Ash Blossom. I'll cross it out, but I think I honestly could have gotten away with saving the cross out here. The thing about sprites in general, and like trying to Ash like a Spright Blue, for example, but especially in this deck, is like, I just feel like there's better choke points that you can use the Ash on. I mean, to be fair, if they've got a level 2 monster and they special a Spright Blue, then you know they're going to go into a Gigantic, so it's like, you either kind of negate one or the other. I am definitely more of the mind of negating the Gigantic Spright, because that's going to pull a monster not only directly from the deck to the field, but it's often going to grab a non-Spright monster, so obviously sprites can make plays very well within their own archetype, but if you can, you know, avoid them dragging like a Swap Frog or a Tri-Brigade monster or something onto the board, then that's usually, I think, the more ideal choke point. But like I said, we have the Crossout Designator. I'm just going to use it here anyway, just because, like, you know, it's very useful now, and I don't know, sometimes it can be tempting to hold stuff like Crossout Designator in a situation like that, where you might not necessarily, like, need it, but at the same time, it's best to use cards like that while they're live. Like, we don't know for sure that we're going to get another opportunity to use Crossout Designator this duel, so I'll just use it now. Okay, so I actually seriously misplayed here. I was doing totally fine with this line right up to this point, where I just randomly dropped Sprites Red and Carrot on the field. I don't know, I guess I was kind of in the mindset, because I've been playtesting a lot, and I mean a lot of pure Spright lately, so I think I just kind of like autopiloted and was like, oh yeah, I can summon Red and Carrot, I'll just turbo them out. But then of course, as soon as I did, I realized, like, wait a second, I actually don't have the space that I need. I actually put this Kerass in the wrong spot too. I think I actually screwed up all this positioning, to be totally honest, but I will say this is a hand where that probably doesn't super duper matter. Not as much as it might normally, just because, like, our opponent's going to be on 4 cards when they draw for turn. We've already got a monster negate and a spell trap negate, and then we also now have a bounce with Ancient Warrior's Oath, Jumbo Dragonlord. So, again, could I have done better with this board? Yes, absolutely, a lot. I definitely misplayed here. But that said, like, I don't know. This is kind of one of those games where you can kind of get away with, like, unoptimal play. Which is one of the reasons why, I don't know, like, you should strive to play optimally every time. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but, like, there are certain situations, I think, where it's, like, it's really easy for me anyway. This might just be a personal thing that I'm projecting a little bit here, but, like, you know, when I made this board and I was playing this game, I kind of had this moment of, like, I felt like defeat almost. I was like, oh my god, I misplayed this board so badly. Like, this is not how this should have ended up. It should have been a lot better, but, like, you know, then I took a step back and saw, like, you know, the reality of the situation. Like, oh, at the same time, my opponent's on 4 cards. I have multiple negates and a bounce. Like, I think I'm still good here. So, like, I don't know. It's just, like I said, it's really easy to get caught up in this idea of, like, you know, I misplayed, therefore I'm in a losing position, when it's definitely not the case every single time. Definitely not the case this time. It's funny, when my opponent actually threw out the Flashing Fire here, I thought they were going to blow up one of my monsters. Obviously, it would have had to be Elf or either Red or Carrot. And I was thinking to myself, you know, it's interesting. If they target Carrot, or if they target, yeah, if they target something to try to get me to bait out my Carrot, I might not even chain the Carrot here. This is something I've talked about in other videos before too, particularly with sprites. Knowing when to use your disruption is absolutely the most skillful part of the deck. Sprites are very much a disruption-based kind of archetype in how they like to function, leaving Red and Carrot on the board. So you really have to know what you can negate and what you can get away with not negating. For example, if my opponent had used Flashing Fire to, like, try to blow up Spright Elf, totally would have let that resolve. That is a-okay. I definitely do not need Spright Elf. As you can see, I don't even have room to use Spright Elf right now, so that would have been fine. But here, they just summon a Hugin. It's like, oh, that's easy. I'm just going to use the red effect to sack Kitt and negate it. Opponent does have a Freezing Curses for us as Chain Link 2, or Chain Link 3 rather. And here, you know, my opponent's only on 1 card left, and I kind of thought about using Spright Carrot, but I was like, you know, I think I can actually do better here. What I'm actually going to do is use my Ancient Warrior's Oath Double Dragonlord to sack the Spright Red and target the Hugin, and this is going to accomplish multiple things. One, it means that not only will there not be a target for Freezing Curses, so it'll fizzle and not resolve, that in turn means 2, my Red will then resolve and negate the Hugin, but on top of that, 3, this will also bounce the Hugin back to my opponent's extra deck. So if my opponent's last card is something like a Spright Blue or Jet, they're no longer going to be able to make plays. Indeed, this is why Gamma is so good in this format, because being able to not only negate level 2 monsters like Hugin, the Nimbles, Dark Beckoning Beast, Deep Sea Diva, not only negating them, but then also destroying them, denies the Spright player the opportunity to oftentimes just even continue the turn. They're going to have the ability to special summon a level 2 monster, either with Spright Starter or maybe a Swap Frog with a water in hand, and then special to Spright Blue. In any case, you make it that much and so much harder for your opponent to actually come back in that situation, your Spright opponents. And indeed, you can see my opponent just conceded at that point. I'm willing to bet their last card was a Spright Blue. Just the way they were playing that hand, and the fact that they summoned the Hugin, particularly that they summoned the Hugin with the Flashing Fire that they searched, that is a very strong indicator to me that their last card was a Spright monster. I'm willing to bet it was either Blue or Jet. Because I think that's I don't know if it's the only situation, but I do think that's one of the few situations where you would search out the Flashing Fire, but then still prioritize special summoning with it over trying to destroy one of my monsters. So there is that duel. Let's go ahead and go straight to the next one here. So this game here is going to be against EXO Sisters, which is a very, very annoying matchup for this deck. Indeed, sprites in general already have a lot of graveyard manipulation, which makes it, you know, annoying to go against EXO Sisters, but this variant, I mean, I'm sure you can tell especially, loves to move stuff out of the graveyard. We did get very lucky here, and our opponent only has set 2 and then pass. But they are, of course, going to fire off the Dimension Shifter right at the start of the turn. So, I mean, I kind of figured, you know, when we're playing its decks that... I mean, I could tell it's EXO Sisters as well because of the sleeves. Like, literally 95% of the time if somebody's got a themed sleeves, they're playing... I mean, look at me, I've got the... I literally just realized that. I'm rocking the Tri-Brigade sleeves, so... Usually if people have themed sleeves, they're on that deck, but... The fact that my opponent threw out Dimension Shifter here, like I was about to say, isn't really a surprise because... you know, when you've got a deck that you know has turn 1 plays, but they don't make any, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, they have a dead hand, this game's going to be easy. But you do still have to be mindful of your opponent having a lot of disruption, because if your opponent's playing, like, a combo-based, or not necessarily even combo-based, but, like, if your opponent's not on a Floodgate deck and they set a bunch of cards and then pass, then, like, you should absolutely be expecting disruption, not only from the backdoor cards, but from cards in hand as well. So we're going to have to play under the Dimension Shifter, which is, you know, obviously not ideal for this deck. I'm still going to Tenki and get a Fraktall here just to do a little bit of deck thinning so I don't draw it later. I am really glad that I started with Spright Carrot in this game in particular. This is a very good game to have Spright Carrot. You know, from there, I'm just going to special Jet and Blue and then throw a Red down onto the board. You know, for obvious reasons, I'm not going to really be doing any Tri-Brigade stuff this turn. Just Spright plays here. I hear I'm going to grab a Kitt from the deck. I guess technically I should have grabbed a Kerass to do like 500 more damage, but that's a bit of a hedge, and I mean, it was a hedge either way. The reason that I got Kitt here was a bit of a hedge in that I thought to myself, if Kitt lives through my opponent's turn, then having this Kitt on board is going to be hugely helpful going into my opponent's turn. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, with the Tri-Brigade Revolt face down... Oh, I don't have the spaces, though. I still should have thought about that. I thought about this mid-game as well, and I'm thinking about it now. The idea of loading up my Banish pile with Fraktall and Kitt to make use of Revolt, because Revolt can, of course, bring the Tri-monsters back from the Banish to make the link as well. So, yeah, I was kind of thinking about, like, I don't know, you know, Fraktall, pitch, maybe a Kerass or something, and then... but the problem is, you know, the Kitt doesn't go to the graveyard, so it doesn't trigger its effect. So we'd only be able to get 3 Tri-types in the grave. Yeah, never mind. Or in the Banish, rather. And then I guess my opponent's just going to concede after that. Yeah, apparently their hand really just was that dead. But, you know, Dimension Shifter is a card that you might expect to just wholesale stop a deck like this. And indeed, Dimension Shifter is huge against decks like this. You know, pretty much acting as a floodgate at that point. But it's like I've always said when it comes to, like... When it comes to playing against floodgates, like... You know, a lot of people will snap concede. I think a lot of people playing this deck might have snap conceded as soon as the opponent dropped a Dimension Shifter. But just because the opponent presents something that is going to make the game an uphill battle, that doesn't make it unwinnable. You just have to be willing to climb is a thing. So that's just my 2 cents on that. But I mean, you all know that by this point. I'm very much an advocate for, like, yes, even against stun, yes, even in the face of floodgates, play it out. Like, make your opponent earn the W. But anyway, we still got a couple more games to look at, so let's jump straight into the next one here. So this one here is going to be against Adamancipator. This was actually, these duels were recorded like the day before Ishizu stuff came out, so they are not playing the Ishizu package in this one. But we are going to be taking the second turn here. Thankfully, we got a very good second turn hand of Maxi. Well, you know, ideally we don't only need 1 Gamma, but we'll take double Gamma here. Maxi, double Gamma, Imperm with the Kitt is a very nice opening hand. Gonna fire off the Maxi. Opponent's got an Ashwasp, but of course just going to respond with the Gamma. Yeah, thankfully Adamancipator very much one of those decks that, like, you know, it cannot make any amount of significant plays without giving you, like, at least 5 draws off Maxi. So the opponent is going to go Roxas into Meow Meow Moo. Looks like they're just doing a bit of cycling to see if they can get something a little bit more possibly relevant for their hand before setting a card and passing. So here I get to summon Kitt and then special summon myself a Spright Blue. Gonna use that to add a Jet. And then of course from there we run out the Jet into Starter. Yeah, here I think I'm going to prioritize the Carrot more than the Red, just because I'm a little bit more weary of my opponent's back row than the 2 cards in their hand. Not that I think, you know, this deck tends to play a lot of, like, really disruptive back row, but I think it's more likely for that 1 back row to be something like Call by your Imperm than either of the two cards in hand to be something super significant to disrupt like my monster effects. It actually turns out to be Droplet though, so the Carrot is unfortunately not going to help me here. Interesting that my opponent, well, I guess to be fair, they really only needed to negate the Gigantic here. Interesting that they didn't have a card from hand they wanted to send here. That is going to stop me from OTKing this turn, so we're just going to have to smack our opponent for 3,900. Main phase 2 will go into the... Oh, I made Lambda here instead of Elf because I saw the Gamma in my hand and I was like, oh, I can Lambda and then Gamma will be live, but no, we already used the Gamma and Driver's Banish, so that was a misplay. This definitely should have been a Spright Elf, but I mean, your opponent's only got 2 cards in hand, and yeah, we've got the Impermanence call by as well as the Gigantic Sprites. I thought this duel had more... Okay, I guess it does have some kind of disruption in it in the form of the Droplet and the Dark Ruler no more, but I feel a little bad now. When I said during the deck profile that we were going to watch games that had our opponents disrupt us a lot, I was thinking of Dimension Shifter, and then for some reason this game too, I thought that the Droplet was more impactful, so sorry about that. I didn't mean to like false advertise there or anything, whoops. No, but indeed, you know, our opponent had disruption, and I think oftentimes, like, you know, I find myself a little worried when I intend to end the duel in one turn and then I can't, but the best thing to do if you can't end the game outright due to your opponent's disruption is to, like, just put them in a spot where they're, like, in a much less favored position. Indeed, that's actually why I really, really like Triple Tactics Talent this format, because turn 1, especially if you're playing Sprites, turn 1 Maxx C that you can't negate means you realistically can't really do anything. So that's why Triple Tactics Talent is so good to have, because you can look at your opponent's hand, shuffle a card back, basically make sure that they don't have plays either. It's like, if you're going to brick me up with Maxx C, I'm going to make sure your hand is bricked too. It's just like how I like to use it anyway, but we have one more duel to take a look at. Let's jump straight into it here. And for a final duel, we're up against Sun Avalon, Rika, Therion, the plant pile, as I've been kind of calling it in my head. Definitely saw a lot of this last week when the Rikas dropped, but it's kind of fallen off since then. I've had people ask me if I was going to cover the Rika deck. I currently don't have any plans to. I don't know. I don't think the archetype is bad by any means, but there's just other decks I want to cover for the time being, and I don't know. I just, like... I don't know. Again, the deck's not bad by any means, but it just doesn't really appeal to me that much. That's kind of all there is to it. I don't know. But I think this is actually the game I was thinking of when I said there was like a game where we faced, yeah, more disruption. This was definitely it. So here the opponent's got the Ash Blossom for, what was it? The Nervall Search. Okay, so yeah, not able to add the kit there like I wanted to. Opponent is then going to fire off a Maxx C. I think that was absolutely a misplay. They really should have waited until I had activated the Kerass' effect. I don't know why they didn't, actually. And also, like, why didn't they use it? Hang on, I'm looking now. Yeah, I also don't know why they didn't use it when I activated Kerass' special up from hand. Huh. Opponent definitely missed out on a draw here, but, yeah, I don't know. Maxx C is really, like, this format in particular, you have to be so mindful of when you activate Maxx C. Before Sprites came out, you could honestly, I mean, you really couldn't in my opinion, but for the most part, you could kind of just get away with playing Maxx C whenever, as long as it was like some point during your opponent's turn. But like, if I had a Triple Tactics Talent in my hand, I would have absolutely punished the shit out of my opponent here. They would have gotten no draws off the C. I would have ripped a card from their hand to make it already worse than it probably already is. Given that they only have 3 cards, I guess I don't know. I don't know how many cards we could really need to go off, but the fact that they have 2, like, you know, disruptions used, and the fact they're only going to be starting on 4 cards means they really can't afford to be losing one here. So I saw this a lot, and I talked about this quite a bit too when I was playing pure Sprites with Dark Beckoning Beast. Like, here's the thing. Maxx C, if you're not going to chain it directly to a summon to get a draw, then you need to be playing it during the draw phase. It's got to be one of those two. Playing a Maxx C during the main phase that doesn't get you a draw is terrible in this format, again, because of the prevalence of Triple Tactics Talent. Okay, so this is the other thing I wanted to talk about here. This might look weird to some people, me using Spright Smashers on a level 1 vanilla monster, but here's the thing. I've played against Rika, and also when Therion's came out, I played against Sun Avalon a couple of times, and that started to gain traction. Long story short, by this point, I've played against this deck often enough to know that I think it was MBT I watched recently said that Sunseed Genius Loki is like literally the best single vanilla monster in the game right now. And that's because this card specifically is the seed that you plant to start all of your Sun Avalon plays. A lot of their effects, involve link summoning using this card, or like recycling this card, so on and so forth. So the choke point for this deck, for Rika and like other plant decks that have Sun Avalon, just get their Loki out of the way. Just get it out of there. The banishing, if possible, I think is ideal. So here I'm absolutely going to use Spright Smashers on this little level 1 0 attack vanilla monster, because like I said, looks are deceiving. This is actually just the best standalone vanilla monster in the game right now. So opponent's going to follow up with a Disc Coliseum. I was like, oh, do they still have plays here? But no, they're just gonna set a card before passing. So no, they don't even give the turn back. They don't even give the drawback to me before conceding. I mean, it's not a surprise. Like, I've already got the Kerass in play with 4 Tri-types in the graveyard. So like, from what I've represented on the board, my opponent already knows I have plays. On top of that, I have the Spright Blue in hand as well. I haven't even drawn yet for turn. So like, I think finding game there would have been fairly easy. But yeah, that's going to do it for the duels in this one. So thank you all very much for watching. And yeah, let's just go ahead and move now to our outro. Alright everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the very end of the video like this. That means a whole lot to me. Not just personally, but it's also a great way of supporting the channel as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other means, you can of course feel free to comment and or subscribe right here on YouTube. I'm always looking to the comments section. You guys leave some pretty awesome feedback as far as like constructive criticism goes when it comes to deck building, gameplay, channel content, all that stuff. So feel free to leave your opinion down there. I will be sure to take a look at that there. And then subscribing is going to be the best way to get notifications of when these videos drop. That does happen every day, by the way, so if you're looking for daily Master Duel content, you've come to the right place. And there are more places where you can get some daily Master Duel content. If you check out the description below, follow the top link over to my Patreon page. There, for just $5 a month, which is as much as you pay for a booster pack, you'll find a lot more value than a pack full of filler over there. We've got some previews for content upcoming here on the channel. We've got some exclusive games that are only posted over on Patreon over there. We've got some Q&As, and then you can also have your name featured in this lovely credit sequence where I thank all of the people who are helping contribute over there on Patreon. It's a huge support to the channel, and it really means a lot as well. So thank you everyone who is donating that is featured here on screen. And again, it's not just a pure donation. You do get some more daily Master Duel content over there just for being a part of the Patreon. But I think that's about all the time that I have for today's video. Once again, I just want to thank you so very much for sticking all the way to the end of the video. Again, it just means a lot, as I do put a decent amount of work into getting these videos out every single day. But that's about all the time that I've got for now. So without further ado, this is Xlex. I'm signing out, and I hope you have a fantastic day.